said at a different event yesterday that we have to be very careful that we don't subscribe to a narrative that we are bad people doing bad things simply because what we are doing doesn't accord with the agenda of some other country or some other people. I used the example of cricket in my speech yesterday. And I said that in the 1980s, the West Indies cricket team was the best cricket team in the world. We, in part, achieved world dominance because we had the fiercest bowling attack in the world. We had, they call them the four horsemen of the apocalypse. We had Joel Garner, Michael Holden, Andy Roberts, Colin Cruft. Later, we had people like Malcolm Marshall and Wayne Daniel and those. The reality is that the West Indies dominated the world, in part because we had the type of bowling that struck fear in the hearts of the English, the Australians, the New Zealanders, and everybody else. West Indies cricket was an example of West Indian exceptionalism. We had excelled and we dominated the world. What did the world do? The world changed the rules. So, for example, Michael Holden used to be able to bowl a fellow 2 or 3 bouncers, get him frightened, and then bowl him a Yorker and knock out his stump. ICC said, no, you're now going to be restricted to 1 bouncer per over. But why do you think those rules were introduced? They say, oh, it's for the safety of players. I'm not telling you no safety of players. They were introduced because they wanted to take away from the West Indies a weapon that the West Indies had developed. And I believe that we all must understand that a lot of times when you hear this talk, because the wealthy countries of the world keep telling us small countries, you must fend for yourself. You must find ways to be sustainable. You must find ways to pay your bills. You can't keep coming to us cap in hand saying, oh Lord, we had a hurricane and we need help. But every time, and I challenge all of you to look at our history, every time that we have found a way, they have come back to find ways to stop us. Every time. We had the bananas from our banana producing countries in the Windward Islands, St. Vincent, Grenada, St. Lucia. They used to get preferential access to Europe. The big companies in America, Chiquita and those, they say no. They shouldn't get any preferential treatment. You know what that led to? The whole banana industry collapsed. People out of work. Then some of us decided we will engage in financial services, offer people international banking and offshore companies and trusts. Then you start to hear them say, oh, these little islands are engaged in money laundering. They engage in hiding money. And just yesterday I made the point that if you do a simple Google search and you ask, what were the 5 biggest financial scandals in the last 20 years? Number 1, Wachovia Bank. They laundered over $300 billion of drug cartel money from Mexico. Number 2, Danske Bank, which was in Estonia, that's in Europe. They laundered over $200 billion of Russian money, criminal proceeds. You had BCCI, which was formed in Luxembourg and had its headquarters, I think, in Denmark. They actually collapsed. You had English, what do they call? Standard Chartered Bank, an English bank, renowned bank. They made over $200 billion from enforce. Or the OECD put England, put America, put Luxembourg, or any of these wealthy EU countries on any list? No. The blacklists are just what they say, list for black people. Black and brown people have been the ones. The same grouping referred to a Pacific country called Nauru. And Nauru had a problem where I think they say about $70 billion was laundered through Nauru by Russian figures. The US government responded with sanctions, blacklisting, and the like against Nauru, small little Pacific nation. But Danski, which was in Estonia, which laundered over 200 billion, there were no sanctions against Estonia. There were no sanctions in the United States against the United States for Wackovia's excesses. We had a whole financial meltdown starting in 2008 where the big banks and the big money centers caused the entire world to go into recession. I never heard anybody say that they're going to sanction America or sanction England or sanction Germany or Switzerland. We have to accept that a lot of these rules are not being made to help us. They are disguised, they are dressed up, but these rules are designed to keep us in our place. And our place is to remain dependent on somebody someplace else. So, I've gone in a roundabout way to talk about CBI, the Citizenship by Investment program, and the idea of leveraging citizenship for investment started right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. 1984, 39 years ago, was when we gave the world that idea. Since then, you have had Canada. Sometimes my Canadian friends get upset with me because I tell them, I say, as much as you're all talking, Canada had a program designed to attract wealthy Hong Kong Chinese to Vancouver. That's why so many of them moved and settled there when Canada realized that Hong Kong was moving from British rule back to Chinese rule. You would recall, members of the press, that Hong Kong was under British rule for, I believe, 100 years. When it went back to China, the date was known, Canada decided this is a good way to attract all of those wealthy Hong Kong Chinese, tell them come to Canada. And they responded positively. You go to Vancouver, British Columbia, a lot of Hong Kong Chinese there. To the point where even Canadians were complaining, saying the property prices went up so significantly for them because these persons were coming in. You look at England. You think that all those Russian oligarchs that ended up in the wealthiest neighborhoods in London, the neighborhoods in London that attract these wealthy people. You have people like Abramovich, who owned, I believe, was Manchester City, if memory serves. Manchester City or United? Manchester City. Abramovich, I think, had owned. Oh, no, it's at Manchester City. Chelsea. Forgive me. You see, I'm not a football fan, so I wouldn't know. Chelsea. So Abramovich owned Chelsea, Russian oligarch. These things aren't by accident. These are deliberate government strategies to attract investors and investment to the shores of England. So how come England can do it, Canada can do it? Portugal developed a citizenship by investment program. Cyprus, Malta, all of those had programs. St. Kitts and Nevis gave the world the idea. Then Dominica, St. Lucia, Grenada, and Antigua and Barbuda started. All of a sudden, it's the worst thing in the world, and we are the worst people in the world. Think about it. There's a certain hypocrisy that attends a lot of this. And so I feel, members of the press and members of the public, it is for us to shape our own narrative. And when they come and they start to tell us, oh, this is bad, you ask them, why is it bad? They said 20,000 passports were issued or something like that in St. Kitts and Nevis. I think it's 27,000 was the number I saw. They didn't say when. Was it in the last year, 5 years, or since the program started? We don't know, because the reports I saw in the English press didn't say. But I looked quickly, and within the European Union, over 800,000 citizenships are granted every year in the EU. Over 800,000 per year are granted. Do we dare tell them that they're giving out too many citizenships and that poses some kind of problem? They would tell us that we're out of place. But they are willing to tell us that we can't give out this number of citizenships. And I just feel that we need to sometimes stand up, respectfully of course, but to say that is a false narrative that you're spreading. And you yourselves have benefited from investment where you have leveraged your residency or your citizenship and tell people come. The United States has a program, a lot of people don't know about it, called an EB-5 visa program, where if you can say to America, I can come in, I'm going to invest X amount of dollars and I'm going to employ, I think, a minimum of 10 people, you get residency in the United States. A lot of people don't know that. You get residency in the United States, and after 5 years of residency, you get your U.S. passport. We need sometimes to have a broad conversation when we start to hear the talk about how many passports and whatever. It's sensationalism. And members of the press, I'm not one to criticize, but there have some people in St. Kitts and Nevis masquerading as media. They're not really media. They should just tell themselves and say what they are. They are political propagandists. And I have no difficulty being a political propagandist. I wish I had some working for me. Say who you are, because when you masquerade as media, you give the unsuspecting consumer the impression that what you're saying is unbiased, unvarnished news. It is not. And I have been shocked to see that some of these reports attacking our CBI program have been parroted and sent around here in St. Kitts and Nevis as if it's good news, it's manna from heaven, right? Like people who, what do they call them? Frightened. They're just sending anything around, happy that somebody somewhere is saying something bad about the CBI program. And I am going from this rostrum today. Don't want to get too political. But I'm going to say this, that the CBI program has been a critical tool for the development of St. Kitts and Nevis in the past 15 years at least, and certainly since its inception. Successive governments have used the proceeds of the CBI program for the development of this country. And I dare any political party or political organization out there, whether in or out of government, whether in government or vying to get into government, to tell the public, when we mash up the CBI program, what will be the alternative? How do we replace 52% of the national revenue overnight? Because if you can't do that, then it means that there are some things like CBI that all of us should be working to protect. Now, I have my own problems in Nevis. I don't feel that Nevis gets its fair share. And it takes me to the next question, because it's a matter that we are continuing to work on. Prime Minister and I, in fact, are supposed to meet this week. And we are continuing to work on that issue of Nevis getting a fair shake and a fair share, not only from CBI, but from everything else that the country has to offer. Because we are equal citizens in the country, entitled to the equal fruits of our citizenship. We're not second-class people because we happen to be born in Nevis or live in Nevis. And if we move from Nevis and we move to Bastia, we get better treatment, we get better access. No. But I have pointed out that since Dr. Drew has been Prime Minister, the programs that he has set out, flowing from the citizenship by investment, have also benefited the people in Nevis. We had the double salary was his first thing that he did. I believe it was last year. And the people of Nevis benefited. That was the public servants. He then did not one but two dividends from CBI. The people of Nevis benefited. He has done the back-to-school voucher. The people of Nevis benefited. And he has lately done the $1,000 payment for those who are in good standing with Social Security. Again, the people of Nevis benefited. I say that because we have, when we look at the context of our Nevisians benefiting, to look at it in the round. It can't just be how much money the government gets, because if the people of Nevis, and that has always been my argument, that the people of Nevis must be able to benefit from the full fruits of their citizenship. And I have said publicly, and I say it now again, I commend that approach. But we have to be careful in our country, members of the press, not to allow a narrative from outside to be used by us to destroy a goose that has been laying that golden egg for us for a while. Some say that CBI has a limited shelf life, that it is going to summer wither and go away. I counter by saying it has existed in St. Kitts and Nevis now for nigh 40 years. It has outlasted a lot of other industries that have come and gone. And rather than us predicting doom and gloom, what we should be doing is galvanizing our collective will and our collective intellect, that same intellect that created it in the first place, to see how we can manage it and ensure that it has greater longevity. That, to my mind, is where our efforts should be expended. So, I hope that I've answered, Ms. Hewlett, the questions that were posed by your colleagues on St. Kitts, and invite them, of course, to be here for the next press conference so they could ask their questions themselves. Are there any further questions for me? So, I apologize for that. You were saying something to me, P.S.? Give me a moment, please. Oh, I'm told that I need to do an announcement that there is a free health screening on Friday, 27th, this Friday, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the St. Paul's Anglican Church Hall. And people are asked to come out. You get your blood pressure, your BMI, your waist circumference. Well, I wouldn't be doing that one for sure. Your blood sugar screening, your urine testing, your breast screening, HIV testing, all of that is going to be available. And so we ask you to come out. So 8 to 1 p.m., Friday, 27 October, at the Health Center in at the St. Paul's Anglican Church Hall. Then on the 26th, that is Thursday, 8 to 1, that the same thing will happen at Cotton Ground. Wednesday, 25th, it comes to my hometown at Brownhill, 8 to 1 at the Brownhill Community Center. And that is what I have been given. So we're inviting one and all. Again, consistent with the theme of having a healthier Nevis. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Members of the press, thank you for being here. Mr. and Mrs. Daniel, thank you for coming and for asking your questions. It's always good to see members of the public engaged. And while, as I said, this is a press conference where members of the public want to come and ask a question or two, they are absolutely entitled. So thank you very much for being here and for spending some time. And I hope that there are a few headlines that can come from this press conference today. Thank you. God bless you, and I look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Well, that was the Premier's monthly press conference. Premier Mark Bradley just wrapping his monthly press conference. It's 11:46 as we return to our regularly scheduled programming.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM. Found